Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Now, what we discussed last class is basically the reciprocating compressors. That's the topic. Okay. Now, reciprocating compressors, what we discussed last class, just have a small revision about what I already we discussed, and remaining things we will discuss today's class. Now, just go through that one. What exactly we discussed last class. Now, see. Now just see the slide here. Now what exactly we discussed already. So what is basically a compressor? Okay. So compressor is a device which actually increases the pressure from low pressure to high pressure. And we have discussed about something called as what is the classification of compressors. So compressors may be classified into two types. There is a reciprocating compressor and rotary compressors. The reciprocating compressors may be of the types of single stage, multi-stage, as well as single acting and double acting. And rotary compressors may be used for very small pressure rise applications. Example for the rotary compressors will be like your screw compressor, vane compressor, as well as a lobe compressor, etc. Now we have discussed once again that what is reciprocating compressor in detail, how it works. So it has three operations, that is suction, compression, as well as delivery stroke. Okay, how it works, we have seen that working. Then regarding work done by compressor without clearance volume. So we have just considered a process taking place in the reciprocating compressor, like suction, compression, delivery. We have plotted the same on a PV diagram, where the process of compression may be like a isothermal process, polytropic process, as well as adiabatic process. Now, among that, isothermal process is the one which actually provides less work to the compressor. Okay, then we have seen the expressions for work done in polytropic process as well as adiabatic process and isothermal process. Okay, so that's what we discussed last class. Now, today's class will just see the remaining things. Yeah, can you able to see the screen now? Yes. Now you see this actually what we discussed in the last class. Now this is basically your right. Now you see here, this is what we discussed in the last class. So this is basically the expression of a compression, like P1. It actually takes the air at pressure P1, and 1 to 2 is the process of compression, and 2 to 3 is the delivery. And obviously, this may be possible in three thermodynamic processes: adiabatic, isothermal, polytropic process. And this particular thing, what I am showing by a highlighter here, which will be giving the work done in terms of actual process, that is a polytropic process where N is the polytropic index. So P1 V1 can be replaced by MRT1. So the solution for this particular thing is negative. Suppose if you keep P2 by P1 power of N minus 1 by N minus 1, then obviously what will happen? You'll be getting the positive one. So why I'm getting negative if we keep this value is because work is done on the fluid in a compressor. And remember this relation T2 by T1 equal to P2 by P1 equal to P2 by P1 power of N minus 1 by N. So this is what exactly we discussed in the last class. Now you just see here something called as a clearance volume. Now, as I said in the previous slide, so we have calculated, or we have just found out the work done without considering the clearance volume. So what is the clearance volume? You see, the air is going to admit from the starting of this particular axis here. So 4 is touching this axis, 4 to 1 suction, then 1 to 2 compression, 2 to 3 is expansion. So there is no clearance volume as same as available in your IC engines. So we'll be dealing now next topic based on what is known as the reciprocating compressor equation for work done if you consider clearance volume. you consider clearance volume. Now just see what is the difference. Now you see here the 4 point is not exactly on the y-axis here. There is some space left, and 4 to 1 is the process of suction, 1 to 2 compression, 2 to 3 is the delivery where air is delivered, and this is the expansion process. So the cycle is completed here, and you see here there is some gap between this, that is V3 I have shown. So this particular gap is nothing but your clearance volume, where V3 is equals to Vc. So normally what is the clearance volume? So we won't allow the piston to touch to the top of the cylinder. So always a cushion or clearance volume will be left so that for effective operation, right? So then if I consider this clearance volume, how the work done formula is going to be changed. Now you see 4 to 1, as I said, suction, compression, delivery, as well as expansion. And both expansion, compression. So compression, expansion follows PV to power of n equal to constant. This is in general process, which is called as polytropic process. And V4 is the volume at 4, V1 is the volume at V1. Now this V1 minus V4, if I just consider, it is called as effective swept volume. And what is the actual swept volume? Because the piston will be going up to V3, then it comes to V1. This is the amount of suction. Then 2, 3, like that will come. Now this V1 minus V3 is called as actual swept volume. V1 minus C3 is called as swept volume. And what is the total volume? That is from 1 to 5. Okay, so this is how it happens. Now if I consider clearance volume, then how work done expression changes, that I'm showing. So for that I need what is this particular 1 2 3 4 processes work done. So first I'll take the curve as 5 1 2 6 as one area minus 5 4 3 6. So if you just subtract that 5 1 2 6 minus 5 4 3 6, then I'll be getting the area under the curve 1 2 3 4. That is, if I consider clearance volume, this is the work done. Okay, just follow the next slide. What exactly it gives you, the same thing. So I just taken, now whenever if I have this expression of 5 1 2 6, then what is pressure P1, volume V1? So n by n minus 1 P1 V1, 1 minus P2 by P1, whole power of not m here, n minus 1 by n. That is for 5 1 2 6 minus 5 4 3 6, 5 4 3 6. So 5 1 2 6 minus 5 4 3 6 will give you this blue color one. That is, so minus n by n minus 1. And what is the volume now? P4 is the pressure, or P4 equal to P1 anyhow. So P4 is the pressure and V4 is the volume into 1 minus P3 by P4. Again, P2 equal P3 as well as P1 equal P4. So don't mind about that. So it becomes P3 by P4 whole power of n minus 1 by n. But we know that P4 equal P1 as well as P3 equal P2. Now, if you just keep on changing this formula here, now I'll be getting an expression like this. So the work actual, whenever if you consider the clearance volume, now it becomes like n by n minus 1 V1 into V1 minus V4. So what is V1 minus V4? It's called as effective swept volume into 1 minus P2 P1 whole power of P1 P2 whole power of 1 minus n. So just remember this relation, and we'll take one problem. You can understand better how this particular relation holds good, and how the with clearance volume, without clearance volume, the problems we'll be seeing in the next slides. Now, just remember some parameters of performance for a reciprocating compressor. Reciprocating compressor. Now, you have a parameter called as volumetric efficiency. Now, already this we discussed in IC engines. So, why volume is very much important in the compressor cases? So, how much air is going to be compressed depends upon how much air you are taking in. So, that's called as air which is taken in. So this is given by effective swept volume by swept volume. That is V1 minus V4 is effective swept volume by V1 minus V3. So that's called as volumetric efficiency. Most of the time the compressor volumetric efficiency around 60 to 85%. Now one more parameter called as clearance ratio. Just remember how it will be useful in problems we'll see. Now it's called as clearance volume by swept volume. That is V3 is the clearance volume, and swept volume is nothing but V1 minus V3. So it particular thing is called as Vc by Vs, which is called as K. Instead of gamma, you make it K, because gamma already we are calling it as adiabatic index. So most of the time the clearance ratio is in terms of swept volume, normally it will be given in the problem. So it is around 4 to 10%. So remember, volumetric efficiency is one parameter, as well as clearance ratio is one more parameter, right? Next. So don't worry about this, and just remember one more relation, that is whenever volumetric efficiency is given, and this is the clearance ratio. So there is a connection between volumetric efficiency and clearance ratio, and this is the relation. So 1 minus, if you just take a C or K, whatever may be the constant, into P3 by P4, where P3 is higher pressure and P1 is P4 is the lower pressure, minus 1. Okay, just time being, you remember these particular relations, which actually tells you whenever if I consider clearance volume, how to find out volumetric efficiency. Okay, then I'll go for very important term here. Now, because whenever if I'm considering the clearance volume, once after the compression, after the process 3, it has to expand it back. Now, when expansion takes place such that the expansion reaches to the one point, where one point is atmospheric condition, that particular air which actually delivered is called as free air delivered. That is volume of air compressor when it is reduced to the atmospheric temperature and pressure, which is called as free air delivered. Normally, it's denoted by PT, VT by T. VT is called as volume of free air. Okay, so how I can determine volume of free air? Where PT is atmospheric condition. So in the problem, they'll be giving 1 atmosphere. This is some 20 degrees, the air is taken. But actually, when it starts happening the suction stroke, it is P1 is the pressure, P1 is the temperature, slightly different from free air or atmospheric or ambient conditions. Then it will be like a PT VT by T equal to P1 into V1 minus V4, which is called as effective volume by T1, right? So just remember the relation, and most of the time the free air delivered, the conditions will be, if it's given, okay, otherwise I will be taking the PT VT as 1 bar is the condition for atmospheric pressure. Then obviously temperature will be like a 15 degrees, 288 Kelvin. Okay, so just remember these particular relations. Then I'll come back to a problem. You can easily understand how that particular parameters we're going to solve. Okay, so that's about with clearance volume. And the first one what we discussed is without clearance volume. Okay, now we have one more concept, very, very important concept, right? So which actually shows you here, which is called as multi-stage compressor. Multi-stage compressor. So what is multi-stage compressor? Now assume that I'll be compressing the air in a compressor from pressure 1 bar to 10 bar. Now what will happen if entire pressure rise will takes place only in a single stage compressor? So what happens, you have to design a compressor such that it has to take care of that much high pressure, and you have to design valves as well as the material of the compressor such that which will be happening, which will be uh, taking the thermal stresses or the pressure rise. So instead of going for a single stage 1 to 10, why can't you go for a multi-stage like 2 stages of compression? Then what are the advantages? Now see here, these are the disadvantages. So what happens if I want to have a single big stage of compressor means it requires very heavy working parts. It has to accommodate very high pressure ratios. Whenever the size increases, there is obviously the balancing problems because it's actually the reciprocating machine. So there is obviously sort of a vibration. You have something called as balancing problem. Then lot of torque fluctuations because once it starts, the crank class starts moving. So there is obviously the fluctuation, and you require a heavy flywheel installation because you have to supply energy, or this requires a flywheel installation. Now to avoid all these things, only alternative I can go for is a multi-stage. So instead of compressing it in a single stage, I can go for a multi-stage compressor. Now the multi-stage compressor will be like this. Now it will be like a series arrangement of a cylinders in which air is compressed first here, then it is passed to the device called as intercooler. I'll tell you what is intercooler. Then it is goes to the intermediate cylinder. Then again one more intercooler. Then it goes to the high pressure cylinder. Finally, it is delivered to the reservoir. Okay. Now low pressure cylinder. Sometimes this intermediate cylinder won't be there. It will be like a low pressure cylinder, intercooler, then high pressure cylinder and delivery. I think you have already worked in the lab session where you have seen the two-stage compressor, where one particular cylinder is a low pressure cylinder, another is the high pressure cylinder, and you have seen a intercooler in between. Okay, right? So compressed air after low pressure cylinder is being cooled before going to the high pressure cylinder. Time being, assume that there is no intermediate pressure. Okay, then what will happen? Just see. Now this is basically your PV diagram, which tells us how this particular operation happens. Now, just to, if you assume that what is the previous operation, that is 8156, that's the single stage. That is a single stage compression, right? Assume that the single stage is like a 8 to 1. So here I'm not considering clearance volume. So it will be like a 8 to 1, 1 to 5, 5 to 6. That's the single stage. Now instead of that, what I'll do, I'll have two stages. I'll have two stages. Okay. Now what I'll do, first 8 to 1, then 1 to 4. It's a first stage of compression. Then I'll be cooling a little bit. I'll be cooling a little bit. That happens in case of your intercooler because temperature decreases. So that's why it's shown back. Now after that, I'll be compressing again to the 0.3, which is happening in the high pressure cylinder. Now, what is the cycle now? 8, 1, 2, 3, 6. That's called as your, right? So that's called as now the multi-stage process. Now it may be happen. Now you can see here the 1 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 8. It may happen. So that process will called as without any intercooling. Suppose if I adopt the perfect intercooling, that means I'll be cooling it from 4 to 2 and 2 to 3 again compression, then 3 to 6 is delivery. Then in that case, it's called as with perfect intercooling. Okay, so what is the pressure range now? I'll be taking from 1 to 3 because P1 is the initial pressure, P3 is P2 is the intermediate pressure, and obviously the final pressure is P3 delivery pressure. Okay, the same thing I have mentioned here on the right side. Okay, now when I call it as a perfect intercooling here, after the initial compression in a LP cylinder, air is cooled in the intercooler. So what temperature will be cooled again? So 4 to 2, where 2 if it happen is equals to 1, that is the initial entry temperature, then it's called as a perfect intercooling temperature. So sometimes they will mention the problem, perfect intercooling, they won't give what is T2. So I can assume that T2 is equals to T1, T2 is equals to T1. Okay. Now that's how the multi-stage. Now see what is the advantage of multi-stage compression. Now previously for single stage, 8156 is the process. Okay. Now what happens? A simple intercooling I have adopted. I have taken this. Now what is this hatched portion? That hatched portion is the saving in work. Saving in work. So previously it will be like a 8156. Now I have saved this 42 or 4532. 4532 I have saved. So this is advantage for me because I have to supply work to the compressor. Now I am reducing my electricity bills. Okay, right? So that's the advantage of multi-stage compression, but I am getting the pressure from P1 to P3 or P delivery. So that's called as your multi-stage compression process, right? Now this particular thing shows same thing. So if I take only single stage, so the above diagram is actually shown the different way, right? So 8156 if I take, then obviously what is your work done formula? As usual, n by n minus 1, P1 V1, 1 minus instead of P2, because here the pressure is P5. P5 converted from n by n minus 1. Now, what is this is the relation already I have explained. That is final temperature by initial temperature equal to final pressure by initial pressure whole to power of n minus 1 by n. This is the normally relations, thermodynamic relations for any polytropic or adiabatic processes. Okay. Now just go for one more thing. Now if I adopt without intercooling, what is the thing? So this particular diagram gives you without intercooling. That means I am not perfectly cooling the 2, T2 is equals to T1. In that case, what will happen? So what is work done now? You see, that is combination of low pressure cylinder work plus high pressure cylinder work. So you just see here what is low pressure cylinder work, n by n minus 1 into P1 V1, 1 minus P4 by P1 whole to the power of n minus 1 by n plus. What is the high pressure cylinder? That is 1 n by n minus 1. P4 V4 is the pressure into volume. The 1 minus P5 by P4 whole to the power of n minus n1. Okay. Now both if you add, it becomes the multi-stage compressor. This is without intercooling. Okay. Now the last one. Suppose if I have perfect intercooling, that is T2 is cooled, that's equal to T1, then in that case, slight change in thing, that is n by n minus P1, 1 minus P4 by P1, that is P2 is equals to P1. Okay, P4 by P1 is same thing, plus P2 V2 in n by n minus P2 V2 into P3 by P2 whole by n minus n minus. So this is particular expressions will be given whenever if you have considered the intercooling process and T2 equal to T1, and the same dynamic relations I have shown here. So that's the expressions for multi-stage compression. Okay, right? The same thing I have mentioned. Now you just remember this particular thing. Finally, the work done whenever there is a multi-stage compression process with perfect intercooling, it's given by n by n minus 1, P1 V1 2 minus P2 by P0 by n minus 1 minus P3 P2 by n minus 1 by n. Just you remember this one, and this whatever hatchet portion with 24532, as I already explained, it is work saving due to intercooling. You just adopt a cooler and cooling it, and you are sending it back to the reservoir. Okay. Now, very important thing, you know what is P1, you know what is P3. That is a suction pressure, delivery pressure. How to find out the intermediate pressure? Now, what may be the intermediate pressure? That is, what up to what pressure I can compress in low pressure stage, then intercool it. Then again, I have to compress it in the high pressure stage. So, how to decide this intermediate pressure line? That is the P4 or P7. So in that case, what I'll do, that expression, so how much condition of minimum work? So that's used to the condition for minimum work. Okay. Now what I'll do now, I'll just take the same relation, which actually gives you the work done for a multi-stage process. Okay. With perfect intercooling. How to find out what is P2? Assume that I know P3, I know what is P1, V1, everything except P2. How to find out P2? So for that, just for minimum work, differentiate with respect to the pressure P2, because that's one I have to find out and equate it to 0. And finally, what we'll do, we'll get whenever I want for perfect intercooling, the minimum work which is consumed by the compressor. So the condition for P2 or the intermediate pressure is nothing but root of P1 into P3. So it's nothing but if I know what is P1, assume that it is a 1, P3 is 9. So 1 into 9, root of 9, so 3. So the 3 bar is called as intermediate pressure. So if I maintain the intermediate pressure as 3 bar, then it's possible that the work taken by the compressor is very, very less. Okay. So that's the maximum amount of formulae what is available in case of your reciprocating compressor. Now, once you complete the work done formulae, let me just go for the efficiency. So already we have discussed the efficiencies. Now, once again, what is isothermal work done? I already explained this. P1 V1 ln R, where R is the compression ratio. It may be P2 by P1 or it will be like a V1 by V2. So already we explained this. And isothermal power. So work done, if you know, divided by into N by 60. That's give so many kilowatts. It's only the isothermal work above. It is the isothermal power. Okay. Now I said, what is isothermal efficiency? We already discussed isothermal power by actual power. So actual power is nothing but which is called as indicated power. Okay. So here it is mentioned as different terms. The shaft power. So shaft power is the brake power required to drive the compressor, right? So what is the power inside the thing available divided by power available at the end of the shaft? So that's called as isothermal efficiency. Similarly, so some more parameters we'll just see here. Then I'll just take one or two problems you can easily understand. Now, we discussed this already, adiabatic efficiency. Now you see here, the denominator you have actual power. So that actual power may be like single acting, double acting, they'll give some power. Now, if I want to find out what is adiabatic efficiency, this is the same relation what we discussed. There's the work done during adiabatic process. That is gamma by gamma is 1, P1, P1, 1 minus P2, P1 by gamma is 1 by gamma, divided by brake power required to drive the compressor, which will be given in the problem. Okay. Next, finally, you have something called as mechanical efficiency. So you know what is the final power? That is, I'll be giving some shaft power, that is the input. And what is the output in terms of indicated diagram power? So it will be like isothermal processor, Porter plus one thing. So that put indicate power by shaft power if I keep. So that's called as mechanical efficiency. That is mechanical output by mechanical input. So mechanical input I'll be providing through the motor or some sort of a prime mover. Then output will be obviously in terms of pressure rise. So that's called as mechanical efficiency. Okay, right? So this is the maximum problem, formula which is available, and you can easily do any problem on that. So just go for one single problem now. So let me just see, I can explain that problem for you. Okay. Okay. Now just see one single small problem. Okay, then you will understand better the concept. Okay, so let me just finish it off for one problem here. So a single stage double acting compressor, 150 kilowatts power. Can you able to see the screen now? Yeah, can you able to see the screen now? I hope you can able to see the screen now, right? So if you have any clarification while we discuss, maybe in the offline sessions. Now you just see this problem. I think you're able to see the screen here. So a single stage double acting air compressor, 150 kilowatts power, takes air at 1 bar, not 16 bar, 1 bar, and delivers at 6 bar. Delivers at 6 bar. The compression follows P power 1.3.5 constant. So obviously the compression process is polytropic with polytropic index of 1.35. And the compressor runs at 160 RPM. That gives you the speed of the compressor, and average piston speed that already we discussed in IC engine chapter. Already we discussed in the IC engine chapter. Okay. Now just see here. So piston speed is given by 150 meters per minute. Now he's asking what is the size of the cylinder. So what is size indicates dimensions, stroke length as well as diameter or bore. Now just quickly I'll just go through this problem. You can easily understand. Now given that double acting, it's a double acting compressor. So this is the 150 kilowatts thing, and piston speed as we discussed, it's called as 2ln, where L is the stroke length and n is the speed, which is given as 150 meters per minute. And speed they have taken pressure P1 we know, pressure P2 also we know. Now this is the basic polytropic relation where n is 1.35. Now what is I had to find out? I need to find out what is the size of the cylinder, that's the diameter or bore of the cylinder. Now first I'll take the piston speed, that is 2ln. Now n I know already, and 2L is stroke length. First, I'll try to find out what is stroke length. Then what is swept volume? Pi by 4 d square L. That is the formula for swept volume. So which is actually given as pi by 4 d square L. Now except d, I'll just find out the swept volume now in terms of d, where L is known. So it comes around 0.3635 d square, right? So this is the swept volume or V1 in this particular problem case. Now, what is happening here? I need to find out the dimension d. Now I know the work formula, that is n by n minus 1 P1 V1, P2 by P1 whole power of n minus 1 by n minus 1. You may be getting doubt, sir, it's 1 minus now, why it's V? So if you take 1 minus, you'll be getting the answer as negative. So to make that a positive thing analytically, so it will convert this as P2 by Pn whole power of n minus 1 by n. Or no issues if you make it as 1 minus P2 by Pn whole power of n minus 1 by n. Now I know what is n, I know pressure P1 convert into kilopascals, and V1 is nothing but in terms of d square, 0.3635 d square into P2 by P1, where P2 is the pressure 6, P1 is 1. So 6 by 1 is the pressure ratio. And just take this and you will be getting here a term on the right hand side in terms of d square, in terms of d square. Now what is W? It's called as work done. It is called as work done. Now we know that work done or power of a particular double acting compressor is given by W into N into 2, where 2 indicates double acting. If you remove this, then it's called as a single acting compressor. So W into N into 2, where 2 is double acting, indicates the number of action. W is the work done, N is the speed. If you just keep those things, okay. So I know left hand side double acting power given in the problem as 150 kilowatts. And what is left here is W, already I calculated at the top, so much 82.89 d square. Then we'll find out d. So the d is nothing but 0.57 meters. 0.57 meters is nothing but your pressure, diameter. So stroke length already we have found out. Okay, already found out. Right? So this is the initial model of a problem based on your reciprocating compressor. Right? Now I'll take one more example. So before I can finish off this session, I'll just take one more example. Now, this particular problem gives you the idea, how a problem based on clearance with considering the clearance volume. Now, previous problem, what we did, it's without clearance volume. So quickly, this already I have shared this text for you. So just quickly go through this particular problem. Now, see a reciprocating compressor of single stage. So obviously single stage compressor, double acting, delivers 20 meter cube per minute when measured at free air conditions. If you remember PT, VT by TT, so the free air conditions are given as the how much amount of wall that particular thing is delivering is 20 meter cube per minute. So that much of volume of air it's delivered. That's called as free air delivered. And what are the free air conditions? That's the free air delivery conditions. As I said, no. So 1 bar 27 degrees is the free air delivery condition. Now the compressor has a compression ratio of 7. So what is the compression ratio? It's actually compressing it from the pressure, 1.1 to 0.2, where P2 is nothing but 7. Okay, so pressure ratio is 7. And the conditions at the end of the suction, at the end of the section are 0.97 bar and 35 degrees centigrade. Now this is nothing but the free air delivered conditions is after the thing it comes back to the suction where it takes, there's a 1 point. So that 1 point will be like 0.97 bar as well as 35 degrees centigrade. So free air delivered conditions is little bit different, and this is particularly suction conditions is little bit different. Okay, and the compressor runs at 240 RPM. Now this is what the difference between the previous problem and this problem. So this is with clearance volume. See here, they have mentioned the compressor runs at 240 RPM with clearance volume is 5% of swept volume. I know what is swept volume, Vs, and Vc is called as a clearance volume. So Vc is 5% of Vs. Vc is 5% of Vs. Now the L by D ratio, that is to find out those volumes, no, they have given what is L by D ratio, where L is called as stroke length, the D is called as bore or diameter of the cylinder. So they're asking to find out, determine the volumetric efficiency and dimensions of a cylinder and isothermal efficiency taking the index of compression and expansion as 1.25, 1.25, and also show the cycle on the PV diagram. Also show the cycle on the PV diagram. So obviously, if you just see how it will be available. Now, see, this is how it goes, right? So this is the process. This is the compression. Obviously, this is one, this one. Now, this the thing what I have left here is a clearance volume. Okay, right? Okay. So they have given that clearance volume and they're asked to find out the thing, and finally they're asked to find out what is known as isothermal efficiency and volumetric efficiency. Okay, so you may not be able to complete this problem now. Just note this problem and see, or you can just go through that problem, right? And once I think you can able to understand that easily. If you're not able to understand that, okay, now we'll be seeing the same problem in the next class. Okay, now this is the thing what is given data. So P1 T1. So P1 T1 is the actual suction condition, but what is PTBT? That's the free air delivery conditions, that is 1 bar and 27 degrees centigrade. And what is the pressure ratio? It's given as P2 by P1, and speed is given as 240 RPM. 240 RPM. Okay, now time being, you just go through this problem and just see the solution. If you're able to understand by the discussion what we had regarding the work done by considering the clearance volume. So definitely you can able to understand. Otherwise, next session, I'll come back again and we'll be seeing some more problems based upon this particular work done considering the clearance volume, as well as we'll take some more problems based on what is known as multi-stage compression. Okay, so that's the thing. I'll stop in this session. Let me just have a recap. Now, what already we discussed is the basics of compressors, classification of compressor, then obviously the working of a reciprocating compressor. Then we have something called as work done without clearance volume, work done with clearance volume, then multi-stage compression and advantage of multi-stage compression over single stage process, and the expressions for the same, and the some parameters like volumetric efficiency, clearance ratio, isothermal efficiency, mechanical efficiency, etc. already we discussed. So everything will take into account, and some more problems will be solving in the next class. Okay, so thank you. Right, so if you have any clarification, we'll just take offline class and we'll get it clarified. You will get it clarified. Okay.